What's up guys, this is Hazmat. This is my new YouTube channel. What we're doing is we're going to talk a little bit about my projects that I like to do. Most of you are going to know me from my gaming stuff, but this is something a little bit different. This is just a side project. If it does great. If you guys don't like it, that's fine too. This is just something I want to start recording as I'm working on projects. So what you notice behind me is something a little out of the ordinary. What we have here is a giant steel cabinet, and today I'm going to turn this old beat up useless steel cabinet into a nice sandblasting cabinet. I've wanted to have a sandblaster for a long time. They're messy if you don't have a cabinet for it. Cabinets for it are super expensive, so we're going to show you how to do this for under $300. This is going to be a huge blasting cabinet. In fact, it's going to be big enough for this. These are the wheels I have for one of my other project cars, and a few years ago I had painted them gold. They've been sitting for a while. They're really beat up, so I decided to start sandblasting them, and we're going to completely refinish them. So come with me. If you're wondering about this and how I got this home, I had about 8 straps on this. I've put lots of stuff on this car. I'll show some other clips of that here. But this actually is super light. Biggest problem was because the way it's on here, it basically was an air brake. So I drove this 50 miles home on the highway like this, and yeah, it took a lot of gas. It literally took twice as much gas to get home as it took to go get it. But we're gonna get it off of here, and we'll start tearing into it. Before I take it off, I just want to show you guys the shape of the air tunnel that my car makes, because on the way home you can see where all the bugs hit. Now it's all clear in the middle, and then the rest of it is all bugs, so that'll get cleaned up. Let's talk about how we're gonna build it. So this is where we need to make a plan. Now, what you see is a 76-inch tall cabinet. It is 3 feet wide, it is 2 feet deep. If you buy one of these new, it costs $300. I got this bad boy on Marketplace for $25. What do you get for $25? Exactly what you would expect. We're gonna have, it's gonna be beat up, right? It's gonna have some rust. This one actually has a bit more rust than I expected in the bottom, but it's not too bad. So let's take a look. As you can see here, it is very, very large. You can see some of the rust down below. Most of this is surface. It is rusted through in the back. So we have a couple options for that. We can either put in a new piece of metal, or we can tape it up and let it go. Now, as far as the shelves go, this middle one is permanent. This is actually a great height to have this be my working area. My plan here, put some lights on the inside edges, here, here, and here, and have all my extra material down here. Now, luckily for me, this did have 3 extra shelves. So what I plan to do is put one close to the bottom, put our bucket in there, and I'm going to show you all the items we're going to use. Alright, so here's the items we have. We're going to be using for this. I want to show you guys real quick. I'm going to list the prices here when I edit the video, just so I've got the most current prices. Everything will be shown as what it is at time of recording. A few of the big things you're going to need. Number one, going to be your gloves. These are super cheap, super easy to get. You can even buy them with rings to mount them. This is probably going to be one of the most important things, so you can seal up the front of your cabinet. Okay? Next thing, we got some lights. These are just 18-inch lights. What I'm gonna do with these is I'm gonna end up hanging them in here around the edges and on top so that I can see what I'm working on. Kind of important. Next thing we got here is polycarbonate sheets. The polycarbonate sheets are ones that are actually going to be much more scratch resistant than say an acrylic or a plexiglass sheet. So we want to make sure when we're getting windows for this, we're going to get polycarbonate. Here we have our blaster. I'm going to have a link to this. I got this one on Tractor Supply Plus. This does have its own tank on it. However, it has a tube that comes down off of it, and what I'm going to end up doing is just using some acrylic tube to run this down and have it sucking from the bucket down below. Okay, so we also have the bucket here. That's the whole point of the bucket. The bucket's going to be our catch and our feed for this. This hose is just a relatively short, it's a 3-foot MPT hose. That's gonna allow us to run this. This is a pass-through fitting. What this will let us do is I can mount this in the inside of the cabinet here. We can have it all sealed up, so that way none of our material is getting out, but we can run an air hose. All we're gonna have to do is put a quick disconnect on the side, and we can connect the cabinet to air whenever we need to. Last couple things we're gonna need here. We need some caulking. Caulk. I chose black caulk because I'm gonna end up painting the outside black, and this will just match around the windows when I seal it up. So let's start cutting. We're gonna start marking stuff off here. All I'm really doing is trying to figure out where I want to place stuff. So I know this door handle is where that shelf is. So everything from here up, I can cut holes and place where I want. I'm gonna try to get these windows. We're just gonna eyeball them, but I am gonna try to keep them level. And then we're gonna mark off where they are. That is actually level. So now we're gonna mark the outside edge. because I want this to be fairly uniform, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna mark straight across from it so that I know where the top of my other window is. Now, because I'm bolting this in, I need a little bit of space around the edge. I'm not gonna have this whole window. It's gonna shrink down a little bit. I wanna keep about an inch. So all I'm gonna do is use this as a template to go around the edge and make a second set of marks. And this will be where we actually end up cutting. Boom, this area here is gonna be our window. We're gonna drill holes around the edge, and that's how we're gonna end up mounting this. Now, the other thing we're gonna need to cut here is going to simply be the holes for where we're gonna put our arms through. Really simple, find a spot that looks comfortable, and draw a circle around it. Alright, so one of the problems with doing this is I got to get my gloves through here. This piece is actually spot welded down it. So we're just going to cut out this little section here. This should be able to get this off, and there get our gloves nice and flush mounted. Well, guys, as you can see, it started pouring pretty good, so I moved the cabinet into the garage. I'm gonna try to keep working on it. It's gonna be hard to film working on it, but I'm gonna do what I can. So figured this is as good a time as any to show you guys the garage. So there's the B7. That is the car we're eventually going to do our first full build videos on this channel for. Please excuse the garage, as I've spent basically the last 4 or 5 years here just tossing stuff in here. So we are in the process of cleaning it up. This whole wall back here, this was completely, everything you see on these racks was piled up on the floor or various places like 2 weeks ago. So this workbench is the first time I've had it able to be worked on in probably 3 years. The other side of the car, that pile back there is basically how the whole garage looked. So it's a process. I have more tools than I know what to do with. So I think all of these are gonna go along the front wall, and then that front door won't be being used. We'll come in and out through the main door. That's the plan, so that I can open up all of this space, whole 1-car area here, to work on projects. And the more projects I can work on, the more videos I can put out. So I'm gonna get back to it. Alright, so the first hole that I tried to cut with the shears didn't go so great. The second hole went great. All I'm doing now is cleaning it up. Once I've got it cleaned up, we can fit our cup for our gloves. So that's what we're gonna do. Alright, so the part that I didn't film, you guys might be able to see here, there's some scratching around the edge. Basically, there was a couple high points that would catch this as I tried to put it in. So we just ground those down, and now should be able to, boom, goes in nice and easy, but it is tight enough that once we screw it on and silicone it in, it's gonna be a nice good seal. Alright guys, so here we are. We've got all of our main holes cut, and you might notice there's another hole I cut here off camera. This is actually where my airline is going to pass through. Now, this is a budget cabinet, but I want this to last a little while. It's got some rust on the bottom. It's got some surface rust around the edges. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sand the whole thing down, and then we're going to hit it with some paint. The only paint I happen to have laying around that I know is good for this is actually some barbecue paint. Doesn't matter what I do, all I'm trying to do is prevent rust in the future. So let's get into it. I want to get down here and talk to you a little bit about why I'm doing this. So I said, you know, it's a budget build. You don't really have to do this, but I'm super happy I did. And a big reason is some of these scratches, all I'm doing is going around hitting the deep scratches I can see, or the spots like this where I could see some discoloration and it looks like a little bit of surface rust underneath. Well, what I'm finding is as soon as I get to these spots, all of the paint immediately comes away in a much larger area than the spot. So like there will be a scratch and all of the paint for 2 inches around it comes off. That's because the paint has already started to separate all around that spot. So now if I don't fix these, we're absolutely gonna get rust underneath that, especially once I put another coat of paint on it and it traps that moisture under there. So if you're doing this, like I said, you don't have to go through and clean it all up, but for the longevity, you might want to. All right, through some movie magic, I'm gonna finish this up and then we're gonna get ready for paint. All right, guys, as you can see, we've got her all cleaned up. We sanded everywhere that there was any scratches, any rust. Then we sanded the entire thing down. Some spots we didn't sand all the way through the paint, but that's fine. So now it's ready for paint. All right, guys, if you've made it this far in the video, first of all, thank you. But we've got everything painted down on our cabinet. I'm super happy with the way it looks now. The next step is we're gonna seal up the inside and then we're going to add some lights, right? So we wanna be able to see what we're working on in this cabinet. We're getting all that set up today. Today, I'm gonna go around all the inside, seal everything up so nothing's getting out whenever we're blasting. All right, so there is a couple things here we wanna address. Number one, like I said, we're gonna get these lights put in. Right now they're just hanging, but I actually got these lights very cheap from Walmart. They're like $8 a piece. They're LEDs and they daisy chain, so we don't even have to cut any wires. We're only gonna have one wire for the lights. It's fantastic. Next thing I wanna talk about is we're gonna have this as our work area up top. Well, down below is where we're gonna have all our media, our bucket to catch it, and we need a way to get the media from up here down there without it being super messy. I went to Tractor Supply, got a big old metal funnel, and all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw this ring around here in the back, then we're gonna cut this, we're gonna cut a hole back here, and we're gonna stick this underneath so we can direct all our extra media back down into the bucket. Is it gonna be the prettiest thing? No. Is it gonna be functional? Absolutely. Let's get it done. All right, guys, so we've got everything sealed up. All we used was some regular old black caulking, same stuff you would use for your bathroom. So we sealed up all the inside edges. All we're trying to do is make sure that all of our blast media stays in the cabinet, or mostly in the top of the cabinet. So next thing we have to do, we have to cut out our hole for our funnel down to our reservoir, and then we have to cut some holes for the air lines. After that, put on the windows, put on the gloves. We're ready to blast. One thing I do know, doesn't matter if it's cars, PCs, new parts, everybody loves a good peel. All right, so as you can see, we've got our windows and gloves installed on all the doors. Now our next step is to put this into this shelf. Now, if you buy one online, a lot of times they'll just have a metal grit and then the whole bottom will come down at an angle to collect all the extra media. But this, instead of me cutting this up and folding it down, this is gonna be a much easier way. This thing was like, I don't know, 20 bucks. All I'm gonna do, draw a hole where I want it, cut it out, and then this top piece here is straight, so I can just cut this, fold these tabs out, and mount it up from the bottom. Yeah, I think it's gonna work really well. We'll see. Alright guys, here we are. We've got the cabinet finally finished. I appreciate y'all. If you've been watching this long, make sure to hit that like button, hit subscribe. We got more projects coming, but I'm going to show you some B-roll, the few things we did to finish this off. I ran all the hoses, I ran all the wires for this, and the one thing I ran into, we sealed up the doors with this nice rubber seal, but I forgot that there was this channel here. This channel, unfortunately, sticks out off of this edge. So all I did was ended up going and grabbing some packing foam that I had from some previous shipments or something, and it ended up working perfectly to seal this edge here. So yeah, I'm gonna show you guys some B-roll to end it out, and if you like it, like I said, don't forget to follow. We got more projects coming. Love you guys. Have a great day. We'll catch you next time.